The Sowetan uprising were a series of protests led by high school students in South Africa that began on this morning of 16 June 1976. Students from numerous Sowetan schools began to protest in the streets of Soweto in response to the introduction of Afrikaans as a medium of instruction in local schools. An estimate of 20,000 students took part in the protest. The number of people who died is usually given as 176, with an estimate of up to 700. 16 June is now a public holiday, Youth Day, in South Africa, in remembrance of the events of 1976. Black high school students in Soweto protested against the Afrikaans Medium Decree of 1974, which forced all black schools to use Afrikaans and English in a 50-50 mix as language of instruction. The association of Afrikaans with apartheid prompted black South Africans to prefer English. The 1974 decree was intended to forcibly reverse the decline of Afrikaans among black Africans. The decree was resented deeply by blacks because Afrikaans was widely viewed as the language of the oppressor. The resentment grew until 30 April 1976, when children at Orlando West Junior School in Soweto went on strike, refusing to go to school. Their rebellion then spread to many other schools in Soweto. Black South African students protested because they believed that they deserved to be treated and taught equally to white South Africans. On the morning of 16 June 1976, between 10,000 and 20,000 black students walked from their schools to the Orlando Stadium for a rally to protest against having to learn through Afrikaans in school. Many students who later participated in the protest arrived at school that morning without prior knowledge of the protest, yet agreed to become involved. The students began to march, only to find out that police had barricaded the road along the intended route. The leader of the action committee asked the crowd not to provoke the police, and the march continued on another route, eventually ending up near Orlando High School. Students sang and waved placards with slogans such as "Down with Afrikaans," "Viva Azania," and "If we must do Afrikaans, Forster must do Zulu." Eyewitness account from both sides said some of the children started throwing stones as soon as they spotted the police patrol, while others continued to march peacefully. Colonel Kleinheld, the police officer who fired the first shot, drew his handgun and fired a shot, causing panic and chaos. Students started screaming and running, and more gunshots were fired. The police loosed their dogs on the protesters, who responded by stoning the dogs to death. The police then began to shoot directly at the children. One of the first students to be shot dead was 13-year-old Hector Peterson. He was shot at Orlando West High School and became the symbol of the Soweto uprising. The police attacks on the demonstrators continued, and 23 people died on the first day in Soweto. Among them was Dr. Melville Edelstein, who had devoted his life to social welfare among blacks. He was stoned to death by the mob and left with a sign around his neck proclaiming, "Beware Afrikaners." The violence escalated as bottle stores and beer halls, seen as outposts of the apartheid government, were targeted, as well as official outposts of the state. The violence abated by nightfall. Police vans and armored vehicles patrolled the streets throughout the night. Images of riots spread all over the world, shocking millions. The photograph of Hector Peterson's dead body caused outrage and brought down international condemnation on the apartheid government.